Hola, hola, buenas. Como verán, no soy Alistair. Está llegando. Justo estaba avisando que estábamos un poco demorados, pero listo. Eh,
Let's wait. Try it. So we're good. We're 100%. I know, but we are 100%. He can do whatever he wants now that we're ready. Okay. Javier, thank you. All right. Finalmente, sí. Todo bien. English.
English. Okay, sounds good. We'll have people from MIT anyway.
From where?
From MIT.
In the U.S.?
Yes.
Because there's MIT in Mexico also.
No, no, it's in GS. Yes, yeah, yeah, just analyzing our process. That's good, that's good. Hola, hola. Okay, so I'll switch to English because we have a few of non-Spanish speakers. Anyway, as you can clearly see, I'm not Alistair, so don't worry, I'm not going to be the speaker. Just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Ipa, I'm part from Pod Agility, the team here at Globant that fostered for an agile transformation. So any doubts or any approach you want to have in terms of whatever regards agility at Globant, you can come to me, IPA, it's easy to remember, it's like the beer, IPA, or Pod Agility team. So I guess most of you already know Alistair, but just a quick intro. So he's one of the initiators of all this movement. 2001, he helped write in the Agile Manifesto. 2005, he was also involved in the PM Declaration of Interdependence. He's also, of course, a man behind the Cockburn scale for categorizing projects, software projects. And of course, many publishers that probably you heard about or read about, like Agile Software Development or Crystal Clear, Human, how was it? Humans and Technology. There we go. So without any further, it's a pleasure for us to present Alistair Cockburn. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll let Javier's my left arm over there. He's going to switch between some videos and some PowerPoint and control the volume and everything else. And he asked me to stand over here. So I'm a bit in the dark, but that's okay because I'm the least interesting thing. The voice and the slides are the stuff that you need. I understand this is being streamed. So hello to everybody who's watching this remotely. And let's get started. Yo hablo castellano, un poco, como un porteño, porque yo hablo castellano, ¿sí? Yo como espinaca, no espinaca, pero espinaca cada día. Entonces, soy casi porteño ahora. Che, sí, che. Anyway, so I'll be speaking in English, but if anybody needs at some point in Spanish, that's fine. Anything I don't understand can be translated, and that's fine. The first thing to take care of, you can't see it at the bottom of the slide, but my name is spelled differently than it's pronounced. It's pronounced Cockburn, as though the CK was not there. So Alistair Cockburn is the pronunciation of my name. And people get in trouble because if they meet me, we become friends. They only know me as Alistair. And they go and they tell their colleagues, yeah, you know, I was spending the day with Alistair Cockburn. And people would go, no, you weren't. You liar, because it's Cockburn. And you go, I don't know. I just called him Alistair all day long. I don't know how to say his last name. So it's Alistair Cockburn. Now I have a kind of a torture for you, because the first half of this talk is going to go very slowly, and the second half is going to go really fast. And I do that on purpose. And I've allocated about an hour and a quarter. I want to get through the talking part in like no more than an hour. It will take probably the full hour. And then after that, I want some time for you guys to ask questions. So be thinking about asking questions. And the way I like questions is if I can answer them by telling a story. So you say, hey, some question, and then I say, well, there was this company and they did this, and there was this other company and they did this, and so on. And then the answer is much more interesting and much more specific than if I just give, some general advice. So that's why I want to leave some time for that. And we may have to work out what to do with sound and microphones and whatnot when we come to that part. There's something very much on my mind these days, and that is the fact that agility has become too complicated. And my quest for the last 2 years has been to simplify it. And this is called the heart of Agile, or the essence of Agile, the center of Agile, all of these words we've used. I don't suppose there's anybody Japanese in the audience here. Any Japanese people in the audience? There's a Japanese word that's perfect for this. It's kokoro, in Chinese shin. And so you could say Agile no kokoro, which means the heart or the essence of Agile. So the first half, I'm going to give you the story of the heart of Agile, why it is, what it is. And the second half, I'm going to unpack it for you and show you how rich it is when you unpack it. And the final ending is to pack it up very, very, very simple again. And you all should have, and if you don't have, you can get more of these little stickers. These stickers don't have my name on it. They only have the 4 words that you absolutely need. And they're in Spanish. Haha, they're in porteño, in fact. Huh? Colaborar, entregar, reflexionar, mejorar. Those are the only 4 words that you need. Collaborate, deliver, reflect, improve. And this captures more than Agile. This captures everything about team-based design activities, not only of software, but of marketing, user interface design, any kind of team-based design activity. This is only 4 words you need. So this is the story of that. To start the story, let's see if this clicker works at a distance. Yeah. What I want to do is to put onto one slide a description of what it is we're working from, what it is we're working to, what is it we're working against. So when I go and visit a software project, as I have been doing for now 25 years, what I see there is people, first of all. It's people doing things. It's a pure mental activity you're going to see. The 3 things that people are doing, they are, depending if this clicker decides to work for me. Go, baby, go. Go, baby, go. There we go. You have to push on the right place. The only 3 things that people do when they're doing design activities, especially software, they invent things. So they're inventing. They're communicating, and they're deciding. And that's all there is. And you'll see that those are pure mental activities, very subject to the mood of the people. They don't invent well if they're depressed and angry. They don't communicate well if they're depressed and angry. They don't decide well if they're depressed and angry. But these are the only actions that are being taken by these people. What they're busy doing, they're solving a problem that they don't understand. Why don't they understand it? Well, they just got started. Of course, they don't understand it yet. And the problem keeps changing out from under them while they're working. They're creating a solution that they don't understand. Why don't they understand it? Well, they just got started. Of course, they don't understand it. And the solution keeps changing out from under them. They're working with people that you'll never guess what, that they don't understand, and who keep changing out from under them. And they're working with these pigeon, terrible languages that we have to express ourselves in languages that, guess what, that they don't understand and which keep changing out from under them. So we've got these four things, and these will come back around at the very end when I go through the expansion of the heart of Agile. And I'll get into some very complicated details that really capture like 20 years of research. So I won't have time to go into it, but I'll just show you what it looks like. But really, we're in a learning activity. We're trying to learn about the problem. We're trying to learn about the solution. We're trying to learn about the people. We're trying to learn about the technology that we're working with. We're actually learning also about cost and schedule, speed of movement, and stuff like that. So there's a strong learning activity that's going on all this time. Now, when we get all done, especially in software, but also in chemical engineering, software engineering, civil engineering, unlike in marketing, unlike in theater, unlike in certain kinds of other design activities, the end interpreter of our design is absolutely unforgiving of error. Yeah, so we've got that. That line is underlined because it's the only thing that differentiates the engineering disciplines from the non-engineering disciplines. Everybody is making decisions, and I know you guys can't see the bottom of the slide back there, so I'll just tell you. Everybody is making decisions. Every decision has got economic consequences that ripple out across other people. And resources are limited. So this is on one slide, all of the aspects we need to take care of. We need to take care about people, inventing, deciding, communicating, solving problems that they don't understand that keep changing, creating solutions they don't understand that keep changing, working with people they don't understand to keep changing, using technologies they don't understand that keep changing, to an interpreter unforgiving of error, making decisions where every decision has got economic consequences and resources are limited. Okay, that's without any analogies or anything. That is the way that I see what we're doing. And if you unpack that, as I'm going to do, you'll find that every word on there instructs us as to where to look to understand what's happening and where to look on how to make things better or how to understand that things aren't going well. All right? That's a complicated stuff. Now, I'm going to go back, if I can find the right place, and I have to go back and give everybody the Shuhari story. Shuhari is a progression that I learned about coming from Aikido. And Aikido in Japan has got the 3 stages of learning. It turns out these 3 stages are absolutely general and apply to learning anything, from teaching your children to tie their shoes, to baking bread, cooking, designing user interfaces, managing projects, everything. This is a basic skills acquisition model that has got 3 stages. And I'm going to walk through these. Shoe, which rhymes with shoe, and so we make use of the sound of shoe to make some puns and some jokes about this stuff. Ha and re, and I'll walk through those. Now, the first one, I have some videos, but I don't have any video on this one. So, shu means follow. So you go to a dojo, martial arts, and the sensei does, some punches or blocks or some movements, and your job is to copy exactly what the master does. You're not allowed to ask any questions. You just copy. That's all you do. At the level shu, you just copy. Now, in a general skills acquisition sense, this matches to learn one technique. You get a new job, It's your first time doing some kind of A/B split testing or some kind of UI design or some kind of putting stuff in the cloud or whatever. And you ask, how do I do that? And the person they give you an answer, they give you a technique. It may not be the best technique in the world, but it's one that you can start with. So you start down this path and you copy exactly the method that the person shows you. Okay, this is called learn one technique. Shu, which means follow, basically means learn one technique. So you guys, I'm in Buenos Aires. I take tango classes. Does anybody take tango classes here? I'm told 1 to 2%. Marvelous, I have a friend. I'm told 1 to 2%. That matches one person out of 120 of Buenos Aires, of Argentinians dance tango. So I've gone through this progression, and I go to my tango class, and he says, and you do this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then he gives me a second move, and then you turn her this way, and you turn her that way, and I spend weeks trying to learn how to do 2 things or 3 things. I'm in Shu. Your kids, if any of you have children about the age of 5 years old or 6 years old, you're teaching them to tie their shoelaces. Yeah? There's many ways to tie shoelaces, but you choose one and you try to teach your child this way of tying shoelaces. You're going to bake bread and you go to the recipe book and you copy exactly everything in the recipe book. You don't change one thing. It's your first time making bread. Okay? That's Shu. You follow. Good. The problem with Shu is that these techniques are not optimal for all situations. Whatever you get taught for your first technique is generally a good way to start, broadly applicable, should be generally safe. Yeah, that's Shu. There's a problem with Shu. Okay? So if you've learned Scrum, that's Shu. We have to get you out of what we call the shoebox. Because what happens is people get very comfortable. They love the first technique. They go, I'm done. I never want to learn another technique. I've got this bread. This is the only kind of bread I'm going to make for the rest of my life. It's only this kind of bread, right? Because it works. Don't give me a second way. Don't tell me about any other way of making bread. It's this bread only, yeah? Okay, so maybe you get past the first level and you get to the next level. The next level is called Ha. Ha means break. Ha is when you stop the one technique and you start learning different techniques. Now, if you're in martial arts, you learn different weapons, different techniques, different stances. If you're learning bread, you learn white bread, brown bread, whole wheat bread, sour bread, right? Flat bread. You learn all the different kinds of bread. If you're in, let's say if you're in user experience design, you learn about user journeys, you learn about story mapping, you learn about all the different, you learn about paper prototyping, you learn high fidelity prototyping, you learn low fidelity prototyping, you learn user interviews. You're in a collection mode. You collect techniques. That's the second stage of learning, right? And if you experiment with your shoelaces and you go, oh, I just saw this other way of tying my shoelaces. It's kind of funny. I'm going to tie my shoelaces this way. That's Ha. So I have a video for you. I'm staying in the diving metaphor. Just for fun, I have some videos. So this picture here, I went to New Zealand. I don't have any pictures from Shu. Now, why don't I have any pictures? See if this thing goes backwards. Yeah. So I don't have any video from this. And it struck me one day, there are no videos of children diving like this. We don't do that. You know, when you go to the Olympics and they have the diving competition, does anybody dive like this at the Olympics? Do they have the bend over and fall down entry in the diving at the Olympics? No, nobody yet does the Shu level technique in the real world. I mean, at the advanced levels, they don't do that. So I don't have any videos. I do have a video of this, and this was, I was in New Zealand, and this is the place where they invented bungee jumping, like 25, 30 years ago, something like that. I don't know how long. And I have this little video, and you see the boat. After you jump off, then the boat comes and picks you up. So if we could be so kind and get the video going. And if you could maximize it, please. So there's the bridge. It's 40 meters high. And it's pretty scary. And you'll see I have a tattoo when I come on here. I had just gotten the tattoo for re, which I'll talk about. It's the third stage of learning. So I had just barely gotten my re tattoo. So I was ready for the... Now, I chose this for ha because I'm attached, I'm safe, there's no great danger, I'm not going to hit the water. There's nothing to do. So I asked them, hey, can I do a back flip? And they said no. I said, can I do a front flip? And they said no. Can I do a twist? And they said no. I said, what can I do? And they said, you can go off forwards, that's all. So I have a choice of techniques available, and I just choose one. So I chose that one, why not? Now I'm going to let this run, only because it's a little bit funny what happens here. So they've been doing this for 20 or 30 years, and the only way they have to pick you up at the bottom is they have a raft attached by a rope to the side of the river. And you have to climb. Can we move the mouse out of the center, please? Thank you very much. It's still in the center. So there you see I'm doing sit-ups, and there's the boat coming. And it's attached by a rope. And you see they have this pole, and you have to climb down the pole, upside down. This, I have to do something with my times. I'm using push-ups. There we are. And there's the pole, right? So then I grab the pole, climb down the pole, and that's high tech. After 25 years, that's the best they've got for getting you in. All right, that's very good. Thank you. You could end the video, please, and see if we can get back to the... So that's ha, right? I had a selection of techniques available. Wasn't bad. I pick one from my list of diving techniques. So that's ha. Now, the third stage of learning is called re. Re means leave. So if you leave the dojo, you've learned everything that the master has to teach. You go out into the world. What happens in the third stage, you do everything automatically. You don't think about anything. It's a full body experience. All of your senses are operating. Now, if you're baking bread or you're cooking, anybody here who cooks, or you know somebody who's a good cook, they don't read the recipe, right? They read a recipe, they get a general idea. But, they add flour till it's about right. And then they stir it till it's about right. And they cook it till the consistency is good, right? Useless, absolutely useless. But these people are operating on tiny little indicators. So my wife was absolutely re-level cook in pastries and breads. Absolutely magnificent. And we were living in Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City is a desert, high-altitude desert, 1,500 meters. But she had spent all of her life making pie crusts, American pie crusts, very delicate. You have to get the amount of water just right, the touch just right. They're very fragile. We moved to Switzerland, to Zurich. Zurich is low altitude and humid. So the first thing she does, she goes in the kitchen and she makes a pie crust. And she does stuff, feels it with her fingers. It was not the best pie crust she ever made, but that's because she was working it out. We ate the pie crust and then she was good. After that, she knew how to make pie crusts, right? She knew it in her fingertips. The other story about her I love is my son was about maybe 12 years old or something. And so if you have sons, they're very hyperactive. So one day I said we should make bread. Bread's very good because you bang on the bread and you pick it up and you bang it on the counter and you do all of this stuff on bread. It's very good for guys, little kids, anybody who's hyperactive, boy, girl, whatever. But I had hyperactive boys. So I'd say, let's make some bread, and he's like picking it up and banging it on the counter and hitting it and hitting it and banging it and hitting it and having a good time. And then I call my wife, and she's driving across town in a car, an SUV, suburban, SUV, soccer mom, all that good, minivan kind of stuff. So I call her up, and I say to her, what temperature do I put the oven on? And she says to me, it needs more water. Think about that. Think about that. She's driving through traffic. She hears the sound in the background of that dough hitting the counter, and she says, it needs more water. That's good. That's right? So I listened for a bit, and I could hear it also. So I go, yeah, okay, I got it. And so what temperature do I set the oven and all the rest of it? That's That's awesome stuff. So there's a fundamental contradiction between shu and ri. Shu level people want the one answer that will fit all situations. They can't handle the complexity of 2 or 5 techniques. Ri level people do it differently every single time. They can't do it the same way twice because the situation is different every time. They're always inventing little changes, they blend techniques. When a shu level person asks a ri level person, how do you do that? The ri level person can't answer. That's why you get those horrible answers, right? It depends. Trust me, it'll be good. Just leave me alone, I'll take care of it, boss, right? The bosses are all like, eh! Right, what's going to happen? It's ri. It's ri. It's the nature of ri. It's different every time. The nature of shu, it's the same every time. Shu is suboptimal. Ri is optimal, but you need somebody who can do it. So now I'm going to show you, this is a picture from Nice. I love to go to Nice. They have this cliff there. And at the top of a cliff, there's a sign that says, no diving. Diving prohibited. Well, obviously, it's dangerous. You know, and people look at the video and they go, hey, Alistair, but that's dangerous. I go, obviously, it's dangerous. That's why they have the no diving sign at the top. Now, you can see how many kids are there diving, by the way, right? So lots of kids diving. Now, the point of this, it's about 7 or 8 meters high. And if you look at that, you have to go 7 or 8 meters out. There's some rocks you'll see underwater, and you have to hit the space where there aren't any more rocks. You only get one try. So this is ri, right? There's no practice. There's no harness. You don't get to choose techniques. You're in it for your life, right? You get one try. Also, I love the fact that before I did this, I wanted to see a young kid jump so I could see like how hard it was. And there was a middle-aged man, unlike me, a middle-aged man standing next to me, and the kid jumped. And the middle-aged man says, in French, he goes, that's not for people our age. So I thought to myself, that's not for people your age, maybe. So I did it. And the thing I want you to observe in this video is the rate at which my body position changes. It's not a clean dive, right? When you'll see, I change body position 2 or 3 times inside of like a half a second, 2/3 of a second. There's no time for conscious thought here. My body was adapting to real-time information at the millisecond level, way beyond anything my conscious brain's doing. Very ri. So if we could have the video for this. And it goes into slow motion, which is very nice, so you can actually see those little movements. That's right, you guys call those. Can we go that backwards? Can you just hit the back arrow button or something? I just used the back arrow button to go backwards. Let's see if your version... No, you can't. You can't go backwards. You just hit the back left arrow. Hit the left arrow button. Arrow button, just on your keyboard. On the keyboard, there's a left arrow button. No, he's not going to do it. Okay. So that the end of the dive comes out fine, but there's a second correction here. There's a second correction. There's a pause in the middle to evaluate, and I love this position right here. Boom! Looks like I just got dropped out of a balloon. Yeah, right. Okay, good. So that's the video. Thank you. If we could go back to the talk. So that's ri. That's ri, right? Ri. Like, you have no idea what's going to happen. Something's going to happen. So you need some ri level people. These are your project managers, your tech leads, your high-level technical experts, your high-level bosses, your high-level salespeople. They do stuff because they do stuff. They can't tell you what's going to happen. Ri. So that's shu ha ri. Now, one of the interesting things to notice between them is that as you get better, the level of complexity goes up. So when you start, and it's interesting for me because the Japanese ideograms match this complexity. So shu is pretty simple character, ha is medium complicated, and ri is very complicated. So shu means you just do it. Ha, you might try all of the things that you have, and And re means like, I can't even tell you, it's so complicated what I'm going to do. I just can't even tell you, right? Now, the problem is that Agile was defined at the re level. When we wrote the Agile Manifesto, we specifically did not give any guidance as to how to do it. We said we operate from a value stance that we think that we believe that paying attention to the individual people and the way they interact is more important than the processes and the tools that you use. That paying attention to having working software is more important than having the documentation. That collaborating with your customers is more important than having contracts. That responding to change is more important than trying to follow that plan that you made. Not that the planning is bad, but the plan goes out of date. Those are value statements. There's nothing in the manifesto that says do a daily stand-up, have a 2-week sprint, backlog items, burn up chart. No. Those are techniques that come and go. You know, they move with the times. So Agile was defined at RE. In fact, Scrum was defined at RE also. My stuff, Crystal, was defined at RE. Extreme programming was defined at SHU. The problem with Scrum and with Agile these days is people have moved it to the SHU level. And when you try to describe a super complex process like that last dive that I did, you try to describe that movement by movement. It's so complicated, nobody can follow it. So we have a problem that has grown over the 10 years, 15 years since the Agile Manifesto, that people ask, how do I do that? And of course, the answer comes back with a technique. You do this. That's SHU level. The answers are always SHU level. You can't answer that question any other way than SHU level. It's really hard. You give a technique. And then the people follow the technique, then they get trapped in the shoebox. They make a little nest in the shoebox and say, I'm not moving. I know how to do planning poker estimation with Fibonacci numbers. That's all I'm ever going to use, right? And then you have these big wars about how should estimation work. So I was looking for a way 2 years ago to get out of this problem of the general complexification of Agile, and I was able to stumble across this word to stay inside this tradition, Japanese word kokoro, in Chinese shin, and it means the heart or the essence. And this character was used by the Japanese Musashi, samurai Musashi, to describe the heart or the essence of being a samurai. So it's got the exact correct connotation in Japanese, and I believe in Chinese. And kokoro is a radical simplification performed by people who've been in a business for a very long time. And they've seen all that they've passed RE, and now they're not in a performing mode, they're in a teaching mode. Understand, I didn't connect the arrow. The first 3 are performance modes. The last one is a teaching mode. And to give you an idea, the perfect idea of this, many of you have seen the movie The Karate Kid. Number 1, Mr. Miyagi, right? Y'all know, wax on, everybody doing this, wax off, wax on, wax off, paint the fence. Wax on, wax off, paint the fence. This is kokoro. What he has done is to simplify something very complicated, very the martial arts, and say, if you just master the basics, everything else will follow. Yes, but sensei, what happens if they're here and there's there and they got this? Just master the basics. So kokoro level teachers are very annoying because they won't teach you anything. All they do is say, master the basics. Yeah, but I heard about this really cool Kano subjective quality crossed with story mapping thing. Just master the basics. Grasshopper. Wax on. I'm mixing my movies. You like that? I can tell how old you guys are. Grasshopper. Wax on. No, they never said that. They didn't have car wax in the Grasshopper movies. Anyway, so it's very annoying. It's so simple, so simple, so simple. So I'm going to show the next video. I'm going to show 3 videos about kokoro. The first one is going to be a continuation of the diving theme. Then I'll change to a music theme. We'll see if we can get some music coming out of the speakers. This is the same cliff. Notice there's nobody there anymore. This is 2 years later, the same dive. And watch, there's no motion. There's no movement. There's no nothing. There's nothing to look at. The thing about people who are kokoro when they perform, it's so smooth and simple, there's nothing to look at. Right? If I were to show you this dive, you wouldn't learn anything about diving because there's nothing to look at. Okay? So that's kokoro. Kokoro is radical simplification. Just master the basics. That's good for that. Oh, we got to watch it one more time. Why not? I like my hair. Flip-flops come off. Flip-flops, you see the rocks down at the bottom. Flip-flops come off. Okay, that's good. That's good, thank you. Now, the next two, just to shift, to a different skill, is going to be music. And this is, who's this musician? I forget names of everybody. This is Dizzy Gillespie. Can we get the video number 4, please? Dizzy Gillespie. And I'm going to show you number 5 is a guy who's re. His flute playing is fantastic, phenomenal. But before, I want to show you Dizzy Gillespie. Don't start it quite yet. Don't. Pause. Thank you. So this thing from Dizzy Gillespie, he's, one of the jazz trumpet players from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. He's been playing this all of his life. In this clip, he makes music with like nothing. He has his short, fat hands, and he can't even make a tune. He just goes dun da dee dun da dee dun dun, right? But by the end, you feel like dancing. This guy has got music from nothing. So listen to this. Go ahead.
No, let's talk about what the talk about the difference. That's difficult. Talk about the difference. When you talk about the unity.
Unity. That's right. That's right. Yes.
We have a beat. Yeah. Well, we have a beat where we play. They don't do that. Cubans.
What is it?
The Cubans do get.
Yes.
The Brazilians say.
Right? So that's all I need. The guy had nothing, but he had the Brazilian tone exactly in place there. So that's kokoro. Now to contrast that, I'm going to show you, it was from the same movie clip, a guy who's so re. If we can play video number 5, please. All right, that's good with the videos. Thank you. So that's amazing. Like I couldn't even imagine what it would take to play a flute like that. But frankly, I like listening to Dizzy Gillespie. It was really nice. I could dance to it. So, and I'm taking tango lessons, and I've gone through this whole progression, right? So I go, and then there's shoe level stuff, and then I write little cards for all the different combinations. I'm in Ha, and I collect all the different, I'm out on the dance floor trying to dance, and I'm doing, okay, let's do move number 21 right now. It doesn't work that way. You can't dance tango and be thinking, I'm going to do sequence number 21. That just doesn't work. So then the people said, no, Alistair, don't think, just dance. You can't do that with tango. Tango, you just can't just go out and you can't go to re and just dance. You just make a mess. So finally I figured out I needed a teacher, not me being kokoro. I needed a teacher. All I want to learn to do is walk. I found a teacher. All he does is teaches you how to walk, how to hold, how to step. That's it. Once you do that, that's kokoro, right? So there's the point of the whole thing is that I want to try to find what would be kokoro for Agile. That's the long of the punchline of this whole thing. And the thing about Kokoro is people get very excited about being higher on the scale than somebody else. So everybody wanted to be Re. Then I introduced Kokoro, and everybody says, I'm so good, I'm Kokoro. No. If you're good, you're Re at doing stuff. Kokoro is about teaching. Kokoro has two parts. It's, my job to find the basics for what is Agile, and when I give them to you, it's your job, anybody's job, who's coming in and just master the basics as a beginner, like in the Karate Kid. It's the beginner who needs to practice the basics. So what's really interesting for me here is for literally 15 years, I said out loud, the only doorway in is shu. And I said that not because I believed it, but because I wanted to find out what was wrong with it. And it took me 15 years to find out there are two other doorways besides shu. So here are the three doorways to come in. The first is, how do I do this? And you give them a technique. You do this. That's shu. The second is you do what these little stickers that you've got have to say. And you say, just focus on these 4 things. Nothing else matters. Focus on these 4 things. Then people who are beginners can still do it because it's easy enough for them to do. Look at those words. Collaborate. You know how to collaborate. You know if you're collaborating. You know if you're not collaborating. You know what you should do. It's not a mystery about collaborate. Deliver. You know how to deliver. You know what's holding you back. You know what to do to make it go away. Reflect. That's the difficult one. Most people don't reflect very well. But okay, a little bit of practice and you get it, and improve, obviously. 4 words, that's all you need. So that's for beginners. Yeah, but I read, the Scrum Guide, and there's all these complex. Forget it. Only think about collaborate. Only think about delivery. Only think about reflect. Only think about improve. You don't need anything. Everything else is noise. It was made up by somebody. Make up your own improvements for collaborating. Make up your own improvements for delivery. It doesn't matter as long as you're collaborating, as long as you're delivering. So the Kokoro opens up many, many more ideas, many more techniques, many more inventions. You make it yours. The third one I didn't put on the chart was a surprise to me. It's play. When children play, they learn things. That's why people go to hackathons. That's why you get a new piece of technology and you just hack around in it. You don't know, you don't go, what's the technique for this? No, you hack around in it. You hack around, you learn it. Oh, and then it says, oh, I learned this. How did you learn that? Well, I was fooling around and I found blah, 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 blah stuff, right? So play is very good for finding very strange techniques, very strange remote aspects of the situation, if it's technology, if it's business or whatever. Play is very powerful, so we want to encourage play. So there's 3 ways in here. There's shu, show me a technique. There's play, and there's kokoro, which is just master the basics. Okay, so what's going to happen now, as I'm looking at my watch, we did that one. Why did I have that one there? Can't remember. We already saw the video, that's fine. So this is the heart of Agile, the Agile no Kokoro. This is the essence of Agile, just these 4 words. So that was the end of the first half of the talk. Now, what I'm going to do to you is absolutely unfair. Hey, I love that. Except that you guys have the slides. You can look at them at your leisure. You have the video. There are other videos of me giving the next part of this talk much more slowly. So you can find them online. You can find them in my blogs. You can dig into it. I'm going to unpack this Heart of Agile thing because I asked the question to myself, gee, is that it? 4 words? There's only 4 words and we're done? And I found that no, really everything we do fits inside these 4 words. And what's interesting is to unpack it and look at some of the strange places you end up if you unpack it. So each of these 4 words has its own shu-ha-ri behind it. There are many techniques for collaborating. The shu-ha-ri for collaborating, the shu-ha-ri for delivering, the shu-ha-ri for reflecting, etc. So I just picked some here under collaborating. I added the word trust. Trust is huge. What a huge topic. Oh my gosh, an entire industry. How do we build trust inside of a team or an organization? That's an enormous topic. How do you actually collaborate? Inside of delivery, we've got all the internal aspects, you know, the lean manufacturing model for delivering, lean Kanban, work in progress, queues, flow, all that stuff. All the internal aspects. More interesting these days are the external aspects. Delivery for learning is distinct from delivery for revenue. So we understand delivering stage-wise for increased revenue flow, and there's mathematics behind it. It's very cute. The topic in 2015, 2016, 2017 is delivery for learning. And that has to do with that right side of that first slide I showed you, all the things we don't know and we're learning about. So that fits inside of the delivery aspect. Inside of reflecting, we've got all the data analytics, we've got all of our emotions, we have our regular retrospectives, we've got new ideas coming from psychotherapy now and improving and all the rest of that stuff, okay? So what I'm going to do now is expand this at a rate just to show you some interesting places it takes you if you start following the thread. And at the very end, I'm going to say, and you can forget all of that because you only need the 4 words in the center. Master the basics, okay? So there's a bunch of words, and I'm going to start on the lean Kanban. I'm going to start up there with something that's quite interesting. And that's the idea that design activities look like manufacturing if your inventory is not like, you know, car parts or something, but it's the unvalidated decision. It's decisions that move between people, and people build on top of other people's decisions. And people wait for each other to make decisions. Not every decision produces a line of code. If you're waiting for your chief marketing strategist to decide what market niche is the correct one, you're waiting for a decision, right? The decision might be, you know, we think 25 to 35-year-olds who spend 3 hours a day on Snapchat is an interesting target market. That's a decision. You don't know if it's right or wrong. It's a decision. While you're waiting for that decision, everybody's waiting. So it looks like a manufacturing line with one workstation that's stopped, right? And it can be anywhere. So we have everybody making decisions here. And what happens is, see if I can get this. This next one's a bit tricky, if I can get this to go. Assuming I can get my little, there we go. So this is the way that most organizations look. There's a lot of inventory in motion. If you have a 500-page requirements document, you probably have got like 10,000 unvalidated decisions sitting in there that are assertions that this system would be good if it did that. Oh, we don't know if that's true or false. We've got 10,000 of those. Boom. Thank you. You have 10,000 decisions. Now, people make a mistake on the order of 1 every 10 decisions to 1 every 100. So that means you've got between 100 and 1,000 mistakes inside your requirements document, and you can't possibly know where until you deliver it. If you do, let's say, just for fun, old school, you do 100,000 lines of code, you've got at least 100,000 decisions. You're making bugs at the rate of 3 per 1,000. You've got 3,000 plus phantom bugs and everything else. You've got 10,000 bugs, and you don't know where they are. They're all hanging about, right? And then you open up your bug list, right? So you give up 100,000 lines of code to the testers. This was in the old days. You guys don't do this anymore, I hope. You give 100,000 lines of code to the testers, and they produce, as fast as they can, and you measure the number of errors of bugs on your bug list in exponents, right? It's 10 to the 2 or 10 to the 3 or 10 to the 4, right? It's not in numbers, it's in exponents. I've been there. And you open up your list, and you go, oh my God. And you pick up one, and now you have a search space of 100,000 lines of code to go find where that bug is, right? And you repeat that for 5,000, 3,000 bugs, right? That's not a nice picture. So those are decisions that are in play. Now, the whole thing about these guys who follow the just-in-time flow, lean Kanban, limited work in progress, WIP limits, hard WIP limits. Those of you who've read about all that stuff, David Anderson, Lean Kanban University, all of those things from 10 years ago. What they're trying to do is to mimic the Toyota production line where it's a continuous flow, small pieces of flow. We don't know what one decision is. I don't know what that is, but we know what fewer decisions is. So instead of 500-page documents, we've got a user story. User story, you try to chunk it into something so small that you could program it in an afternoon, you could integrate it, you could deploy it every couple of days. In Amazon, they deploy more than 1,000 deployments per day. I just read that one. They're way over 1,000. I don't know if it's per day or per hour, but it's a big number, well beyond. Each individual person is encouraged to deploy very frequently. At Facebook, they actually urge you to deploy, they teach you, new programmers, to deploy broken code. They want you to do that first because they have a magic button called rollback. They don't just have one button deployment, they have one button rollback, and they want everybody to learn this. We'll see this in the next stage with delivery for learning. Just a little anecdote, I read that Kent Beck, you guys heard of Kent Beck? Last place I went, like nobody had heard of Kent Beck. Okay, he's the guy who invented test-driven design. He works at Facebook as a programmer, like he's a superstar. He works at Facebook programming every day. He doesn't do TDD. He does not do TDD. And he gave a short reason why. If you are working in an atmosphere where you deploy 3 times a day, TDD looks like big design up front. Why would I write such a cunning, beautiful test on code that I don't even know if it's addressing the correct problem? So I deploy to find out if I'm even talking about the correct problem. I'm not, so I suck it back in, and I keep doing that till at least I figured out what the problem is. If I had to write beautiful TDD every time, what a waste of energy that it would be. So a man who invented TDD, thanks to one button rollback, it doesn't mean you guys go, till you guys get continuous deployment and one button rollback, you don't get to do this, right? Oh, yeah, Dr. Cockburn said that I shouldn't do TDD anymore. Yeah, you show me the one button rollback first. Now we can talk. Yeah. So the point being that the number of errors you have to fix is very small, and you get this continuous flow going. You optimize for the entire organization. For the first time, we stop using Agile only inside programming land. We use this lean Kanban continuous flow stuff to balance the speed of the entire organization. It doesn't do any good for one group to go much faster than other groups. You balance everything, and you get drip feed. What you're looking for is the smallest amount of time from entry to exit. There should be no blocks. I could give some more anecdotes about that, but this is not a tutorial about all of this. I'm ripping you through, 20 years of research in 15 minutes. This is the interesting part to me. This came up around 2009 and has been very, very, very active in the last 2 or 3 years. The idea of delivering not for revenue, but for delivering for learning. And I have a chart here which shows over time the learning. Now, if we take a traditional, the old school 100,000 lines of code, big integration moment, all of the learning happens at the end. Why does all of the learning happen at the end? It's all those unvalidated decisions that you finally get to validate, some percentage of which are wrong, right? 1 to 10% are wrong. You have 100,000 lines of code. That's a lot of uncovering to be done right there. So it's not a pretty picture. So what people are doing now, and this was very interesting, is you make little mistakes, little integrations. And you find maybe you're lucky and it works, and maybe you're not lucky and it doesn't work. But if it doesn't work, your search space is very small. If you check in 100 lines of code and you have a bug, you only have to search 100 lines of code to see what you did wrong, right? The likelihood of having a clash with somebody else who's checking in is smaller. Everything goes faster. Now here's where it gets interesting. Once you decide you're going to operate this way, you could choose very specifically which lines of code to write and which ones not. You can choose which stories to implement and which ones not. And you can choose based on the amount of learning it will give you. So you get a learning curve that looks like this. And you get a project that runs actually in 3 kind of stages. I'll show you the 3rd stage in a minute. But the first stage is yeah, you get some business value, but you're really trying to make sure that we understand what problem we're trying to address. Right? That's the Facebook thing. Are we addressing the correct? When the chief strategist says that target market is Snapchat users between the age of 25 and 35 who spend 3 hours a day on Snapchat, is that true or false? We should find out before we engage the whole organization to do it. So you do tiny little experiments. Continuous experimentation is the word that Melissa Perry has been using for the last year, and I follow her on this. So you get a learning curve like this, and you're learning about those 4 things or 5 things. You're learning about what is our business problem that we're trying to solve. What should we be building? Not what are the requirements, but what should we actually be building that's better than what we thought at the beginning? Technology-wise, what's the technology got to say? People-wise, how do I work best with these people? It takes time to learn how to work with people. Is this person always disagreeable, or are they being honest, or are they unhappy, or are they always quiet, or are they introspective, or they're always talking? It takes time to learn that. So you want to do small stage activities to build the understanding between the people. Cost, schedule, technology, all of these things are things you have to learn about. How fast are we going compared to how fast we think we could go? Where are the problems lying underneath? How big is this problem? So there's that. Now the 3 stages are actually, the 3rd stage is the really interesting one. Because that's when you've been doing this deliberate learning. Pay to learn, deliver to learn. And now at the very end, you're adding smaller features. You're refining features. You're taking time. And now the business is in control. You're still doing fine-grained, incremental development, adding things together. But the business can say, for the first time, for various reasons, we're shipping it now. No, it's not great, but we need to ship it now for whatever reason, right? There's lots of reasons. Or they can say, I know it's almost good enough and there's a lot of pressure, but we need this part of it shinied up and made a little bit better. Okay? Business is in control. It's not like the first one where you were 6,000 bugs deep and they needed it, in 2 weeks, and you're all working overtime. You can't trim the tail. So we call this sector at the back trim the tail. So you can trim. And Apple, by the way, does this all the time. They're the absolute experts at this. Just one example from many. When the iPad came out, they didn't produce it with a modem, so it had no telephone inside of it. And all the Mac heads went and they got one. They were going to use it. They would have the first iPad. They use it on a network. It doesn't matter. 3 months later, they came out with a version of the iPad that had a modem, and all the people who bought the first one also bought a second one, so they could have 2, one that they used in the office and one that they used that had a telephone, right? So Apple played both sides of that market window, deciding quite accurately that the modem was something that belonged in the tail. They could do the first delivery without the modem and a second delivery with the modem. So that's a use of trim the tail. So the point of that last thing was just the importance of learning, delivery for learning and feedback, and that comes out of the deliver. So incremental development, pay to learn, work in progress, lean Kanban, queue management all sits in the upper sector under deliver. Adequately complicated for you to dig into, shuhari all the way. I'm going to jump over to collaborate and pick up 3 of these. And the first one is, I did a research about 10 years ago on what actually improves collaboration. I wrote a research report about it, boiled it on down, and have these cards. We have them translated into Spanish. We have them in English. And they are, if you will, a shoe-level tool for improving collaboration. So you get these cards and you carry one around every day, or you give them out in meetings and you talk about them. Which ones are we doing? Which ones are we violating? And it's a little lexicon for ways to improve collaboration. So that's the collaboration cards as a shoe level part of improving collaboration. I want to jump to now the two that are the most recent that I've saved for the end. This one is a 2x2 management matrix by Neil Nicolaisen, who's been a CIO and COO for like 20 years or something. And he's very, very Kokoro. He's very simplistic. He just keeps everything simple. And he started working on transforming his organizations. And he said, look, Alistair, the deal is that we need trust and ownership everywhere. Everybody has to have ownership of stuff. They have to be trusted. They have to trust each other. How do we create a culture in which everybody has trust and ownership? We start at the bottom left. Typically, when I come into a company, it's all command and control. It's all fear-based. And we're trying to avoid the problems of apathy and conflict and get up to where everybody is feeling energized. So he drew that 2x2. And I did one of my little analyses on there. And I have to introduce you to two things. One is theory X, theory Y, and the other is autocratic leadership and guest leadership. So let's see if we can. So autocratic leadership is the command and control stuff where the boss tells you what to do. And guest leadership is a pull model where everybody just looks for opportunities to lead for 5 minutes or 1 hour or 2 days, and then they stop leading, right? So it's a very kind of like water boiling kind of a leadership model. It's theory-based. So just very quickly, the theory X was described in the 1970s as a way of understanding management in the 1800s and most of the 1900s. And the idea is that workers are lazy and they don't want to work, and you have to push on them to make them to do any work, and the management knows best, so the management is going to figure out the best way to work and tell them to work that way. And that was all, there are still examples of that in the world, but for physical labor, this makes some sense, right? People would measure the length of a shovel to get the right size shovel for the right size person. How big is the shovel blade to maximize the amount of coal? And then if you yell at somebody to hurry up, they tend to shovel faster, right? So that's physical. In the 1970s, somebody said, actually, there's a different way of thinking about this. Imagine that people are actually motivated. They actually want to do well. They're actually trying. They're not lazy. They're trying. And he called this theory Y. And theory Y matches mental work very well, where the people doing the mental work typically know more about their work than the bosses. So the bosses have got another assignment, and I'll show you that in a moment. But there you go. The last thing, mental work gets worse under stress. Remember our 3 actions from the beginning: inventing, communicating, deciding. Those are very subjective. And you're busy trying to invent something, and your boss comes by 3 times a day and says, hurry up, faster, faster, faster. Stands right behind you, faster, faster, faster. Not going to work, right? It's not the right thing, right? To do the creative work, you need the whichever part of the brain I can't remember that knows it's being attacked, right? And when it thinks it's being attacked, all the brain thinks about is, how do I get out from being attacked? You can't think of a new idea when you're busy being attacked. Well, you can. Actually, if you're being attacked, I'll bet you think of a bunch of new ideas for how to get out of the attack, but you don't solve the design problem. So now what's interesting is when we map this to a corporation, there's this very interesting thing. If you take big companies, their bosses, like the CEO, the boss of the CEO is Wall Street, right? It's the stockholders. Stockholders don't care about your private life. They don't care if you get divorced, burned out, sick. All they want is maximize profits, by and large, right? That's what Wall Street's all about. So it's very theory X up at the top. And if you want to have some pity for your big bosses at the top, they're getting pushed by the stockholders, very theory X. Faster, faster, more profit, cheaper, faster, all that stuff, right? Now, down at the bottom, the people who are doing intellectual work, they need theory Y. They need peace and quiet. So the job of the manager is to act as a shield, as an umbrella, somehow convert theory X pressure into theory Y quiet space for you to pull from. That's really difficult. I don't see any way out of that. That is one of the jobs of all of the executives and managers, is to create the quiet space given enormous pressure from on top. Now, the autocratic leadership is the stuff on top. And just to get to the last piece I'm going to show you, it's the newest thing. It's about 3 months old, so I'm bringing you up chronologically, if you will, through all of my thoughts. And it's down here under trust, building trust, and it's that guest leadership. And I only have very little to go on. I've been had a workshop here in Buenos Aires about a month and a half ago. And the idea here is this, that traditionally we have what I call a leader one. Leader one is a guy who says, that's the direction to go. And if that person is a good leader, then the other people go, yeah, wow, that's a great direction to go. Let's go, right? But the job, the assignment of a leader one is to detect a good direction, get people enrolled in following the direction, and then everybody goes in that direction, right? That's leader one. There's a new thing, a couple of years old. Some leaders don't do that. What some leaders do as good leaders is they create an environment like the host at a party. They create an environment where everybody can do things, and they're checking the environment all the time, right? Have you got enough wine, beer? How are the potato chips doing, right? How's your software? Have you got quiet? Are you sitting with the right people? Are you talking with the right people? Do you have access to the right education? Do you have access to the right things, right? So like a host at a party, the leader acts on the environment. And this is a very good way to set up the pull model, right? The pull model, theory Y, is for the leader to be concerned with the environment. It's actually the job of a manager. People act like managers are bad, but this is what a manager should be doing, is working on the environment, the leader as a host. But what's interesting is, especially in the Agile world, and especially in the world where the millennials, I call millennial anybody after about 1985, 1980. 1980, so anybody under about 36 years of age, right? So a lot of people are at the top of their profession under the age of 36 now, right? And millennials don't like to be told what to do. I'm a millennial. I predated millennials. I don't like being told what to do since like forever. So this suits me just fine. I'm a millennial. I don't like to be told what to do. I'm trying to create a workspace where I like to work. It happens that there's a whole bunch of other people like me, and they're called millennials, and a bunch of them are under 35, and some of them are over 35. But what we want is decentralized leadership. So at any moment, somebody sees that something needs attention, and boom, they don't have any authority. They don't have any power to be given. But you see this all the time. Now, if we look in regular life outside of work, all of society is held together by guest leaders. Happens all the time. You know, you're on the subway and you see somebody with a baby wagon, right? The baby and a mom and some suitcases and the baby. And you'll see 2 or 3 people will stop and they'll help carry the baby wagon up the steps and carry the suitcases up the step. That's leadership. That's leadership in the moment for 30 seconds, right? And somebody might get somebody else to come help. That's leadership in the moment. And very, very common. In a neighborhood, you have a neighborhood party. You have a neighborhood trash cleaning up party. You have people who take on leadership moments in neighborhoods all the time. We just expect it, and we understand it. So what we want is to increase that at work, right? Who's the person who first said, let's have a continuous integration machine? Who's the person who first said, let's have a continuous delivery machine? Probably wasn't somebody who was a high-up manager. It was just somebody. And they did it. And then they went back to work, right? It could be anything. Hey, let's clean up this section of the code. Let's refactor this code. Hey, guys, let's see if we can get some user interaction. Let's go find some customers, whatever. These are the people who are agitating. The thing is, in the modern environment, in the modern workplaces, stuff is happening so fast, you don't have time for decisions to go up a management chain and come back down. has to be done right there. And so what we want to do is to copy from the outside life, where guest leadership is normal, into the workplace and get people comfortable with how to do that. So that's my new current thing. I'm doing workshops on this. I'm trying to understand, like with the collaboration cards, what enhances collaboration. I'm now looking at what enhances guest leadership. Liderazgo del invitados for you guys. Yeah, liderazgo de invitados. So that's that, and I'm about at the end of my hour. And so I just was showing you there that this thing that's the heart of Agile, it's just 4 words. You unpack it. What does collaborate mean? What does deliver mean? What does reflect mean? What does improve mean? How do we do that? What are the elements of that? It's very complicated. The world is complicated. Your life is complicated. It's super complicated. I got it. Shuhari on everything. And the cool part is, you just push everything to the side, and you just say, how are we collaborating? Can we get better at collaborating? How do we get better at delivering? How do we get better at reflecting? What kind of improvements do we make? What's the way we do improvements? So you go to collaborate, reflect, improve. Collaborate, reflect, improve. Deliver, reflect on the delivery, improve the delivery, deliver, etc. You only need these 4 words. So this is the heart of Agile, and this is what I care about. Thank you, you guys. I'll take questions if you like. Can we get lights back on, maybe? So we're going to change the format now. Can we turn off the bright light on my face? Is that possible? Did you notice a little bit of guest leadership happening there, right? Right? She couldn't reach it. She asked him, right? So she did a little act of guest leadership. Boom, right? So there you get to see it right there. So we have some time left over. And what I like to do at this time is to honor any questions you guys have on any subject, on any level, and I will try to answer with a story, if I can. Now, we'll have to do something weird with the microphone. You're pointing at something. It's best if you just tell me what's going on. We have a microphone. Is it live? Can you make Javier? Is Javier here? Is it live?
Hi.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
Okay, ask
Okay.
the question.
So,
I was going to ask about Tango.
yeah. So we learned at school that Agile does not work for every project, as there's no like silver bullet. However, do you think that with this new approach, you are gaining a broader spectrum where to apply Agile? Or do you think that it has the same limitation, but just you learn in a different way?
Very good question. So I was asked one time, so is there any time you wouldn't apply Agile? And for me, the definition of Agile is the manifesto. The manifesto says we value individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Javier, you stepped out of the room and you missed it, man. Just like gone, 30 seconds. And it was exactly in those 30 seconds. No, it was all good. When would you not want individuals and interactions over processes and tools? When would you not want working software over all that document? When would you, right? And so I go, I don't know when I would not want it. And the guy sitting in the front row says, what about avionics? That's the stuff that runs the airplanes. I said, oh, you're right. Right? So there's times when processes and tools and documentations and tests and contracts and things are very useful, like double checking the avionics in an airplane before you ship it. Yeah? So I then began to see Agile as a blend technique. So Agile is a prioritization for the ability to change your mind about stuff. Let's just put it that way for a moment. That's one way of thinking about it. So then, if we're going to do avionics and we're building the next, you guys have INVAP in Argentina, right? So INVAP is putting up some satellite. There's 2 phases. Remember the learning phase and the risk-free phase? In the learning phase, you want all of the Agile. It's all about finding out what's wrong. Your requirements are wrong, your team is wrong, the design is wrong, the schedule is wrong, everything's wrong. You don't know where. Agile is your friend. Then you pass a moment and you go, don't anybody touch anything. We're going to test this for the next 2 months. And you Agile people, stop changing code. Right? None of that, deliver broken stuff. So the priority at the beginning is learning. So Agile is a very learning intense thing. And that other one, which is, I want it to be free of all defects. Right? So there's a lot of different priorities. You could have a prioritization for fun, literally. You can have a prioritization to be weird. Literally, you can't do that. Or to be repeatable, or to be defect-free, or to be agile, or to be, right? So there's many different prioritizations. Once you see that, then Agile is a lovely way to play the one side of the game when you're really in the discovery mode, which most of us are most of the time, but there are times not. Now, heart of Agile, his question is, does that change it? I would like to think the heart of Agile is broader because it doesn't say, we value this or this. It says, collaborate your ass off. That's true also for avionics. Get the delivery to find the problems, reflect and improve, right? So I hope that it covers a bigger space. It doesn't talk about the prioritization for, right, learning in Agile. Lovely question. Lovely question. Can we find a second question? Back there, and if we could push the microphone back there, please. If we could get a runner.
Okay.
You have to use the microphone. Turn it on. Javier will do his magic.
Okay. It seems to be working now. So, well, great. I'm Thomas. I work in Amalgama Digital Agency. I'm here with the whole team, and I'm speaking on behalf of them. So, by the way, I used to be a tango dancer too. So, I did a lot of first lessons, because they were free, of course, and so you can teach me later. So, we have a kind of our own kind of methodology. It's sort of Scrum. It's a version of a Scrum. And it gets really complicated for us to educate the client to get involved with our own methodology and to implement it in each work. So I was wondering if you have any suggestion for
I
us.
have a lot of sympathy for your client. So I have a PhD in methodology, and one of the key results of the research is you generally do better to throw your methodology out the window. Methodologies, by and large, add rules that maybe were useful one time in one place, but the world is changing all the time. And so probably you have too many rules, right? There's some graphs I did and so on that show basically the cost of the methodology goes up more than the value does. So a little bit of methodology goes a long way, and a lot of methodology gets in the way, gets heavier and more cumbersome. And then we try to teach, this is the reason I came up with the heart of Agile. We go to the client and we say, you have to be here at this meeting, and you have to do stand-ups, and you have to come to the planning meeting, you have to come to the retrospective, and you have to do this, and you have to do this, and they go, wah! Why? Agile was never supposed to be that complex. Read the Agile Manifesto. Does it say you have to have a backlog grooming session before you have the planning session, and you have to use Fibonacci planning poker cards before you do your daily stand-up? And no! It says talk to each other. The first value of the manifesto says individuals and interactions talk to each other. Second one, Value of the manifesto says working software. Show me the running code. Show me the running. If it doesn't run, didn't happen. Almost means not. It's almost done. Basically means not. It's basically done. It's essentially there. Means not, right? We wrote the Agile Manifesto because we're cynics. I don't believe your code runs. I was in charge of a project where they were using COBOL, LU6.2, assembler, kicks, big mainframe stuff for bank. I don't know anything about that. All I can go is that the guys upstream sent stuff and told us that they got a good answer back, right? And then the banking department says that the deposits look right. If I didn't have that, it didn't happen. I was talking to somebody recently, and I can't name names on this one, but I was talking about, I think 2 weeks is a bad sprint length. I think it's both too long and too short, and it takes a long discussion to get there. But basically, it's too short, you can't actually deliver, and it's too long, you can't focus. And at the end of this long discussion, I said, you know, it would be a really good thing if your people got in the habit of just, forget the 2 week number, just absolutely deliver something every month, once a month. Just, doesn't even matter, big or small, that your bosses know on the first of the month there will be a delivery. It's not even it's just a fact. Every month, first of the month, there's a delivery. They'll figure out what it means, you know, when the stuff comes out and the rate of motion, everything else. And about the third time I said the sentence, it dawned on me, he couldn't do it. Although he was doing Scrum and doing the 2 week ritual with the something, he could not actually deliver even once every month, right? Forget your rules. Deliver once a month and talk to the people. Everything will change. I don't know how long it takes you to deliver, right? So I'm talking about companies that I've seen. If it takes you longer than 1 month to give them a real delivery, that's what we wrote the Agile Manifesto for. Everything is a promise. Yeah, it'll be good when. It'll be good. Yeah, no, that's what the second value of the manifesto is. We don't trust it. Show me. First of every month, give me something. If you haven't got it, give me something less till you can do it every month. After you get it every month, then you can talk about 3 weeks or 2 weeks or 1 week or whatever, right? The whole point of the Heart of Agile is there's too many rules. Too many rules. The reason I say collaborate is I want you to have your own way of collaborating. Why don't they just come by like every Thursday, lunchtime, or why don't you have lunch with them, or I don't know, why don't they come by twice a week? Why don't they spend a day in your office? Why don't you spend a day in their office? There are so many ways to collaborate that are not written down in any Scrum book or any book anywhere. It's just obvious. I've been to places and people, I love it. They tell me, yeah, actually, you know, our clients like to work from our office. I go, why is that? Well, actually, they like working here. You know, they get to see what's happening. They do their own work. They're right there. They get to answer questions. They know what's happening. They're involved. They get to see it grow. They just have more fun here. So they come and spend like, you know, half their time here and half to the regular office. That's collaborate. Are there any rules around that? No. You just made it good. All right? So the point about Heart of Agile is I want to make it really easy. Just forget all that stuff. Just collaborate. Yeah? All that stuff was invented for some project. There was a project in which a 2 week sprint was a good thing and a sprint meeting was taking too long. This is how it happens, right? The sprint planning meeting was taking 6 hours or 1 day. You guys maybe have seen that. So they split it into 2 parts. They had one the week before and the one after, right? That's a solution to a very specific problem. Find your own solution. Get rid of that stuff from the books. I teach Scrum. I'm a certified Scrum trainer. I have to teach 118 learning objectives in my certified Scrum class, right? I have to. It's the rules, but it's very shoe level. And after I teach that, then I want people lighten up, relax, collaborate. There was a company, and I thought they had the delivery thing down worked out. And they said they had, after 6 months, and I can't believe I'm actually saying this, They were doing something on an Android platform. After 6 months, they did not have Hello World cross-compiling on the Android. Okay? It turned out they didn't know how to slice problems into smaller slices. Inside the delivery sector, they were held up because they didn't know how. The business people knew they should, but they didn't know how. The technical people knew they should, they didn't know how. So I'm going to go back, hopefully next month, and spend some time with them and just work with them. It's a skills acquisition. Just how do we slice small enough so we could do a delivery every month, right? There's no techniques you need for that. It's a problem, right? We need to learn how to slice. Boom, okay. When we do that, we go to the next problem, the next problem. So I really hope, like my real hope, is you guys all just lighten up about all those rules that come with Scrum or your process or your whatever. You just collaborate with the people, customers, right? Customer collaboration, right? 2 of the values of the 4 values of the manifesto are about collaborating. Individuals and interactions and customer collaboration. Just collaborate. That's it. Thank you for allowing me to say all that.
Thank you.
So it's 8:30, and I think that's a really good time and way to end up. So go ahead, take these stickers and put them on the back of your boss when your boss isn't looking. Or your laptop, or your door if you're thinking or whatever. And good luck to all of you. Thank you, everybody.